Welcome to part 3. Hi everyone, this is Jagruti and thank you for making till here. If you have not taken a look on part 1 and part 2, I'm attaching it in the link in description below, and I will be also making a short video on different conscious brands that you can take a look from, because I know it's hard to make that shift from choosing synthetic fabrics and choosing synthetic dyes to directly approaching to some homegrown brands that are making a conscious shift in your wardrobe and in your lifestyle. So I'll be sharing that also in the short video that will be coming soon. So stay tuned for that too. So today in part 3, we'll be exploring on what was that second thing that I touched upon and that I brought a change in. It was food, and it was a really tough journey. Of course, fashion also too. It was a tough journey because it is not that easy to bring a change in your clothing style, in what you wear. But it was a bit easier for me because, of course, my mother used to wear cotton clothing, and she was there to always push me to choose cotton clothing. Because if someone in your environment is there to support you, to push you towards that, it makes the journey much more easier. And also, during my college days and during my school days, I used to watch a lot of documentaries, and I used to do a lot of research myself also. So it made me like self. I was getting self aware on a lot of things of how clothes are made. What are the people? Who are the people who are making my clothes? How much they're getting paid? Because all of these things started meaning something for me. It started becoming important for me to know. So, of course, fashion was also a tough journey, and for different people, it would be different because for someone, it would be a more tough journey because bringing change in any of the thing, be it in your skin routine, be it in your clothing habits, be it in your food routine, it's really tough to make that pattern that's adaptable in long term, that's sustainable in long term. So, moving towards the craving, moving towards that is really tough to change. Some people are sweet tooth, some people like salty, some people like sour, some people like spicy. And it's really hard to change their mindset that yeah, sugar harms in this way, spicy things harm in this way. Salt, a lot of salt also makes damage to your body. But I wasn't aware of all of these before. So awareness started from my college, not college, my school time. I used to love cooking also, and I also used to love having pastries and love having aloo bhujia, khatta meetha, then different types of biscuit used to come, right? Monaco, hide and seek, then dark fantasy. I think everyone would have it in some point of time. But and at that time, I used to care that what it is made up of. Is it having refined wheat flour or whole wheat flour or millet based? I didn't know any of these things before. What is millet? What is maltodextrin? What is inward sugar? What is liquid glucose? I was a completely, you can say, dumb person in the food segment at that time. But slowly, my mother also used to tell that we used to have, this healthy like jawar ki roti, bajra ki roti. We used to have gud ki kheer, and lot of because Indian culture is also conscious in a way. Of course, they have also forgotten a lot of things because of Western influence, but there are a lot of things that were enrooted in our culture. Be it because food, it is. It is having a lot of varieties in India. Be it in if you're in Maharashtra, you'll have vada pav, you will have other different varieties. If you're in Gujarat, you will have khaman dokla, you will have different things. If you're in Rajasthan, you'll have dal bati. If you're in Bihar, you will have litti chokha. So, and everything, in most of the things in Indian culture are meant to be healthy, but a lot of this influence what use of palm oil, use of different seed oil, that people are not knowing that yeah, it harms your body. And I also wasn't knowing that what is difference between palm oil, what is difference between different types of oil. I used to think that yeah, palm oil is a type of oil that would be necessary for making of biscuits or for making of bhujias or different types of those packets that we eat. So, and different types of other ingredients. So, that awareness started, of course, from home, from getting to know from my mother different recipes that we used to follow in our traditions. And but still, I wasn't the craving didn't stop. We used to still go to when we used to go by the roads and see those bakeries. Of course, we used to think that I want that pastry right now because I'm craving for it. I want that pani puri, sev puri, that dahi puri, or let's say vada pav or whatever it is. I want it right now because I'm craving for it. And we used to listen to our mind or our heart or our gut. We used to just listen to our craving at that point of time. And that changed everything when I stopped listening to my craving, and it wasn't an easy step to start at the starting fact. So after the school, it was college where all the journey then continued, because in my college it wasn't easy to make shift, because of course there are a lot of changes. Yeah, so when I was in college, that time we used to go. So first year I was staying in hostel, and after third, fourth year we shifted to PG. So in hostel, everything, I think as everyone would know that we people don't get good quality food, but we were having good quality food. But the thing was, in Rajasthan, people used to have a lot of oil. So you would see sabzi, you would see a layer of oil, red oil floating on it. And I don't know what type of oil is it, but at that time, I used to eat. I used to think that, of course, they would be having that in their traditions, and it would be important for them to cook in that. But after realizing that it's not that necessary, it's rooted in the culture that they have a habit of using a lot of oil in their food. But I think slowly when the awareness started, because for me, I was used to watch a lot of documentaries, be it not in terms of only fashion, but also in food segment. I used to love exploring on different things, in different lifestyle habits, different food recipes, food styles, and different sort of things when it comes to documentaries and videos. So while exploring that, I came, and I don't remember the documentary, but I'll surely attach it in the link once I find it and share it there. You can also take a look. And so yeah, so we went to kitchen in our college, and we used to ask them that what are you making today? We don't want more of bread. We don't want the more of oil in our food, because I think when you speak up, be it anywhere, don't think that people will not listen. But if you speak up and if you tell it multiple times, people will listen, and they'll also realize that yes, it is more of oil and it needs to get lowered down, because it's affecting the gut, it's affecting the stomach. And before, I wasn't knowing the term what is gut, what is this role of bacteria, what is this all happening inside the stomach, and why does it matter to know about it so much? Why are people generating awareness around that? Because there are a lot of when I started using my Insta, so I started using from first year, I logged in into my Insta handle. And at that time, I used to follow a lot of different people from different fields. Like I used to follow different people like Food Farmer or Satvik Movement, or people from sustainable lifestyle industry or fashion industry, and of course different other people, other friends and people around me. And I think social media can do two things. Either it can affect you positively, either it can affect you negatively. And it's on you how you take the content and how you make changes according to that in yourself. So during that point of time when I was in my college, I was having aloo bhujia and hide and seek, but I was having in small proportions, because it's really hard to make shift in a very quick zip way. It takes time. It takes that small effort and small step, because you were having it from your childhood times, and it's really hard to bring that change, completely remove it from your diet, from your ecosystem of cravings. So it happened slowly. It took me at least 2 to 3 years, roughly, to bring that shift completely. But till now, if I see a hide and seek biscuit, sometimes I crave. But when I just flip back the ingredients, I'm like, no, I can't have it. I don't know what are the ingredients they have put in it. Of course, because what should be a biscuit made up of? It should have maybe a bit maida or atta. It should have chocolate if it is a chocolate biscuit. It should have sugar or any other sweetening agent. and other few other ingredients. But if you look at the back of any of the biscuit, it'll have 10 to 15 ingredients that is not necessarily needed to be included in that packet. So if I tell you an example of this Unibix snappers, and if it tells on the front cover, because we always trust the front cover, front package, if it is telling that it is healthy, it is rich in milk, it has high levels of protein, high levels of fiber. But when you look at the reality check, when you look at the ingredients, everything is zero. There is nothing as such in your this lovely packet of biscuit or lovely packet of crackers. So when I read here, it's telling potato crackers, Hindi spice, and when I flip back, it says that it is loaded with zesty Indian spices. Now, Indian spices, we mean that it's Indian spices to be healthy, right? Now, when I look at the ingredients, because according to FSSI, whatever the first ingredient is, it is the most, and whatever follows by, it is lower in quantities. So, refined wheat flour is first, then comes palm oil, then comes sugar, dehydrated potato, emulsifier, stabilizer, antioxidants, then seasoning powder, dehydrated vegetables, iodized salt, malted exchange, spices and condiments, acidifying agents, flavoring enhancers, liquid glucose, invert sugar, what not different types of sugar. If it can be simply normal sugar, but they have added liquid glucose, they have added invert sugar, they have added maltodextrin. And I wasn't knowing all of these terms before. I used to think that it might be important for this type of package to sustain for longer term, and it might be good for our gut also. It might not affect our health so much. But I think during my third year, during my fourth year of college, I think in 2022 or 23, I started getting more into the food segment, into understanding. I used to question who made my clothes, where are my clothes coming from, who are the people who are making it. Same, I started asking for the food fact, like where are the what are the ingredients, where am I buying this packet of thing from, who are the people it is supporting, and are they getting rightly paid? So these are the questions that I used to ask, be it in terms of fashion or be it in terms of food, because these type of questions matter for any of the industry that affects your the whole body ecosystem, be it your skin, be it your gut, be it your mind, be it your body, be it your soul. So it then I started questioning a lot of things in my daily habits, whatever I was having. And then during my third year, fourth year, I started telling my mother that I will not purchase from the shop. I want you to send me naan khatai biscuits. I want to make and send me those homemade biscuits, because that would be much healthier. And I know who is making my food, who is making and what they're putting in it. I know the ingredients. I know how much I have to eat it and how much I have to control it. So I'm aware of that. So always, if you're starting small in your food journey, start with homemade things. Start don't because if you go outside, things are expensive. It would be hard for you to make a shift completely from a 30 rupees packet to 100 or a 80 rupees packet biscuit, right? If you are craving for biscuit after that also. But if you choose homemade, you know the right ingredients, you know the people who are making it, and you know the right proportion, and you know how much to eat and how much not to eat. So I think yeah, it all starts from home if you want to make that small shift and a consistent shift, because it's easier to track on things if you started at home. And then after that, after fourth year, I was going through different courses and different things that would support me and make the knowledge much more clearer, because there were a lot of content around food. Of you should have more protein, you should have more fats, you should have more this, more that. There are different types of sugar. You shouldn't have that. There are different types of this stabilizers. There are different types of harmful things is there in your packet, and I wasn't knowing about that. So and after my fourth year, I came around this Sattvic movement course. I didn't did that course at starting, but after that I started looking on it. But yeah, before that I did my I looked out at Isha Foundation, and I did their inner engineering course during my, I think, fourth year, end of and then beginning of fourth year. And during that point of time, I realized that because at that it's 6 days to 7 days kind of, it was of I did an offline course, and I think during second last day or the last day, we used to have this sattvic ahar, sattvic food, where people used to sit in ground and have food with five fingers, be conscious while eating, and all the ingredients that are there that are bought from farm, supporting farmers, supporting richness and celebrating the Indian culture. And at that time, it triggered my mind that, oh my God, there's some issue in this whole marketing gimmick that the world is playing around for. And because India has a lot of farmers, India has a lot of cultivation, India has a lot of things, but because of Western influence, a lot of things have been lost. So, during the Isha Foundation course, it brought a lot of change in me of if like knowledge about Sattvic Ahar, knowledge about different pranas that food carries. Some foods are not good for your body at certain time period. Some food combinations affect your gut, and because we used to not know that, of course, these are the food combinations that we should not eat, because of course, how much we will know about food, like how much information can we know? It's really hard to store in our mind until and unless you don't practice it. So I thought that let's practice one by one combination, or one by one thing that I need to try, and slowly by slowly it will start fitting in my mind that, of course, this is healthy, this is not, this is suiting me, this is not suiting me. So the conscious journey started by doing this inner engineering course, and it stayed consistent because I was very strong in my belief that, yeah, I want to make that change. Because when I was eating junk food, I used to have a lot of pimples on my skin. My face used to get swelled up. My hair was thinning, and there's a lot of problem in the back that was happening, that I was facing, and that made me stop and think that if it is doing so much harm to my body, so much harm to my skin and to my hair, why not make a shift now instead of thinking of making it maybe 1 year after, or 2 months after, or 6 months after? Why can't we start it now? Because if you see yourself in the mirror, it is affecting you, and we are ignoring that fact. So why not? What is stopping us to do that? So now stay tuned for part four to for the continuation of this. Like after Isha Foundation, after this course, after staying consistent, what was that other step that made me? There was, of course, there were falls and ups and downs, and there are a lot of tests and trials. To know on that part, stay tuned for part four.